Okay, we're going to talk through some logic now of returns. So this is particularly on the sales side of things, although the purchase side is very similar. So we're going to talk through how to return a product, both into stock and also then how to handle either the credit or the refund of that item. So in this case, I'll start off just by going into the sales area and I'll go and look at a current sales order. So in here, we've got a whole load of sales orders for a range of different products. And if I look down at the images, I can see a couple of these have had an invoice finalized. And if I go down to the bottom of the page, I can see two sets of sales here, which both had an invoice and a payment, which would probably be the case if you're going to be doing a return. So I'll just go into one of these items here in my demo system. So obviously with familiarity for Dia, we'll see that in this case we've got, we've picked, we've packed, we've shipped, the invoice is done, and in this case as well, the payment's been taken as well. So I've got the invoice here with two sets of coffee beans for $60, and I've got a payment on here as well. Now I'm doing this in our demo system just because I don't want to affect stock of any client system. So in here, there's two extra pages. There's a credit note and there's a restock tab. So within Dia, the first thing I need to do if I'm going to return an item is to do a credit note. So if I go in here, I can either copy what was on the original invoice or I can add a credit note line. So let's say, for example, I'll copy that, and we had one Brazil coffee and one Colombia coffee, and I'll just get rid of one. So we're going to credit one of them, and we're going to do it as of today. So I'll authorize that for the moment. And this gives me a warning to say that given that I'm going to do a credit note for that item, it wants to restock the item as well. So now you'll see the credit note tab has gone green and the restock tab has opened up, and it wants me to restock this one in, which I can do by going authorize. So that's now both credited that item and also put it back into stock. If you wanted, so this is a good process for those clients that are on account. So it's going to raise a credit down into your accounting, in this case 0, and it's going to restock that item back into use. Now, if the client has purchased through e-commerce such as Shopify, or if they've paid by credit card or other manner, obviously you're potentially going to have to refund that money. So if that's the case, you would handle that refund through the original payment method. So if they've paid through Shopify, then you would do the refund through Shopify. Then when that comes into your accounting, you would allocate that off to the credit note, and that's something that's probably worth talking through. That's more of an accounting question than we can handle. So I'll go back in now and just do sales, and I'll view here, and I'll go and find an invoice or one that I'll just pick this one, for example, here, and I'll show you how to do a partial credit or a credit where we're not bringing the item back into stock. So here, for example, I've got the invoice, and here I've got in this case I've got a part payment. So actually, let me just jump back and I'll go into another one. So if I go all the way down, so now you'll see here, this item shows as credited. So this is the one we did just before. So if I go into the other item, then I'll see here, and in this case, I'll just do a straight credit rather than bringing the item back into stock. So here, I can either add a credit note line, but in this case, I'm going to have to pick a product from my library. Just get rid of that one for the moment. Or I can just add an additional charge. So depending on your additional charges in the system, so maybe we'll set up just a credit SKU code, and I'll just assign, sorry, I've got a pop-up I can't get rid of, apologies, but I'll just go through for the moment. So just go through these options. So I'll get a product which is a credit, and I'll say we're going to credit $20 here. Here, obviously, I'm doing this in a Australian file, so it's going to put GST on it. and I can then authorize that credit. So that's going to give me a credit note of $20 just against that invoice. And because I've just used that additional line, in this case, it's not going to try and restock the item in. So hopefully that clarifies the workflow for a few different methods. So both crediting back a product or just giving a credit against the whole invoice and bringing the product back into stock. Now, the only thing I haven't run through here directly is refunding back through e-commerce such as Shopify, but that's a fairly standard option, and I know the Shopify help has examples on that, same as the Magento help does. But that just gets refunded the same way that it was pushed through, and you would then assign that off when it comes into your accounts.